Hello everybody, what's up and welcome back. You're here with me, Shapeless, aka the Game Tamer. Let me move my mic a little bit. And today we're going to speak about healers and the extra roles that they can play on your team. I know that a lot of people like running double healers sometimes. I'm one of them because I don't like to be just strictly dickily healing. It gets really boring, it gets really unsatisfying, unless you're really getting in, unless you're going against another team that has really high damage. You're not really staying active with healing, and because you want to do damage, innately, you kind of lose out on your possibility of healing, and you get sidetracked, and you're like, oh man, I gotta chase this kill, or oh man, I need to keep them alive, and then the second you keep them alive, you die, or I need to stay alive really quick, and then the second you try to stay alive, you die. So having a second healer is actually pretty decent. And knowing which healers can do damage and which healers are better suited to do different things is very important. So we are going to speak of that right now. Alright, so you have your healers as said here. You got your healer Grok, you got your tree man Grover, you got Genos, you got Pip, you got Maldamba, Ying, and of course our lovely Ceres. Now, this is very important that you know a couple of things about these characters. Ying innately has the lowest health at 2350. She is very ill-advised to really be, in the front lines and even the mid lines sometime, taking care of anything other than just trying to, drop a heal on somebody or something like that. But with her teleport, if you kind of want to focus a little bit more around having that and maybe even your shatter stuff, you can run her as a sort of main healer support damage, because I have played a game with her that went long and I did end up putting in 130,000 damage into the enemy team, and it really did kind of work out for me. Now, of course, we also have... So those are really the roles that Ying can really withstand. She's either got this very strict, I'm going to be a healer, or a very strict, I'm going to be a damage dealer, where she doesn't necessarily pop out too much. She actually drops clones and uses her teleport to refresh her clones. So what you would do is you kind of drop a clone and you shatter it out to get a... let me go ahead and turn these guys off, that way I can't hear them. But you drop the shatter out just so that you can, kind of scope out the area, get the extra damage in. And if you're going to do that, then you're going to run her legendary that, if it dies at all, it explodes anyway. So you have that. However, more importantly, you have her healing aspect, which is really strong in my opinion. She actually does have a really strong heal. Even if you're running lifelike, if you position your things well enough, she works out really well, and her ult getting buffed to the way it is just phenomenal. So morale boost, in my opinion, is almost a must constantly. Now let's move on to some more popular healers. We have Ceres, Genos, and Maldamba. They have pretty baseline health. I believe Maldamba's is around 2450. No, it's actually 2700, but unfortunately I don't have a build that doesn't give him at least 50 health. So I think he has a solid 2650. Then you have Pip, who's at 2500. And then you have Ceres, who is at 2600, more than Pip. But if you're running the Soul Collector thing, has the ability to have the most health as a healer at, I believe, 3100. Baseline. That's baseline health. As in, not adding extra cards that, increase her base max health. On our tankier healers list, we have Grover and Grok. They have the highest baseline, which I do believe is 2800. That's the basic build that increases his health. Yeah, 2700 as their base, and I believe Grover's the same. No, Grover's actually at 3000. Unless I'm wrong. Did I grab the wrong build? Yes. So he is also at 2700. They have the highest baseline health, but then you have Genos, who's just, this really good all-around healer, but does have a low health pool like Ying with only 2400. Now, let's move on to Maldamba. Maldamba can do damage, but, he has two abilities in his kit that are very good at healing. So if you want to run him at all, it's more useful to run him as the main healer in your group instead of the off healer. Simply because he does damage and he does have the CC, but it's much more efficient for him to be a healer. If you want to play him as an off healer, that's good, and he's still just fine. I've got my slithery snake video where I play him as kind of like a mid-range kind of thing, and it works out decently if you have good aim, especially if you run reload speed and just toss snakes at people. Hilarious, fun, he's awesome. Competitively, I think that he should probably just be played as a regular healer, but in casuals, you can probably mess around, see what you want, play with some builds. Saris. Saris is actually one of the ones where we start to get into this more hybrid sort of deal. She has a very strong stealth in that she can't actually be hit in it, but can still see where everybody else is. You can also increase her speed by a large amount while in it, and reduce the cast time of it, so you can make it almost instant. Now, her basic attacks themselves don't do a lot of damage, but her detonate can do kind of like delayed damage to make it so that people don't gain health in, just passively. So, and she also has a very, very long range and an effective long range. So she's very good at kind of like poking out people that are just kind of like, getting too many shots in, like a Kinessa, like a Strix. She's good at like scouting those characters out. But you can play her as a flank. In, for instance, the last video I uploaded, I have a game where I played her as a flank. And it worked out really well. Honestly, it worked out phenomenally in my opinion. Phenomenally in my opinion. And her ult is really good if you don't have to be the healer, because you don't have to be in your back line and try to find a good angle from back here. Now you have this full circle where you can be anywhere inside it and cast ults from there. And because you're focusing damage, you can start dropping damage into these ults more frequently, and really start causing problems for the enemy team. If you want to play her as a flank, I would almost say that it could be competitively viable. She's hilarious as an assassin, as like a flank, and personally, I'm probably gonna try it. I'll probably have a competitive game of her as an assassin probably by the end of the weekend. Now then, Pip, the one that everybody knows as not a great healer and a decent flank. Let me tell you, I have a friend of mine who's actually in the top 30 for Pips globally. And let me tell you, there has been no time in any games that I've played with him where his healing was subpar or his damage. He has outdamaged me several times when I was actually playing Mave, which is one of my mains, and I feel like I play a pretty dang good Mave. And it's just the AoE and his presence. But there's also times where he is just completely out-healed the enemy healer like a Genos, and it's just how you play him. Pip, if played well, can be very competitively viable. I've won several games of my competitive series with Pip as my healer. And he does wake a very good flank as well, and you can run Mega Potion flank Pip, which is actually still really good. You don't have to play him like dedicated flank. He works really well as both, and I think that Pip and Saris both make very good healers and very good flanks if played properly. Now then, we move on to Genos. Genos would not make a very good flank. Let me tell you why. He has no real escape and plays much more like a Victor than a Mave or a Sky. Like, he just doesn't play that way. But he can output insane amounts of damage and insane amounts of healing if you have good aim and understand the way that he as a character works. Because in the Saris flank game that I played, there was a Genos on their team that did 4 times my healing and only 1,000 less damage than me. And I did 93,000 damage. Now, I died a lot more than he did, So it's only natural that he's going to catch up to me in damage. But the fact that he has a heal that he can just drop on people and continue to output damage and has a really good CC, it makes him very strong and a very good mid-range midliner. You can play him very easily in this middle area between your supports, your healer, your supports and your tanks. He can make a very good off healer, but also makes a very strong single healer, like main healer, because of just how strong he is right now. He's very powerful. He has a very good kit for healing and not being like stuck in that mental state of like, oh my god, I have to heal this guy, I have to focus him for a minute. You don't have to do that. You can just drop a heal on somebody and be good to go. Like this is like look at this. Okay, you take Celestial Touch, and this is just a lifesteal build. Okay, so 36 damage from a distance. Okay, so not that great a damage, but 120 up close. He has a headshot multiplier for 180. And it's like, okay, so he's also fast. Like, he's very fast. He can get to places other healers can't. His healing, very strong. Just drop a heal on somebody and just pay no attention to them. Just, oh, you need a heal again there? There you go, bud. Alright, cool. Okay, let's go ahead and, you know, just do this, do that. Like, you can just keep dropping heals on people and just not give a single damn about what's going on, and that, in my opinion, is very strong. It is why he is very important as a healer. It is why he is very much picked in competitive. He is a very well-rounded healer. Now let's get to our healers that a lot of people don't like or don't play because they have very niche uses. We have Grover and we have Grok, our most innately tanky kind of healers, because Grok is just Grok. You run his totemic ward, and you just sit there, and you're like, oh, well, my team's on the point. Bloop. Now, anywhere inside this green circle, I can't get pulled, pushed, silenced, nothing. You don't get anything inside this damn little thing. It's freaking nuts. You know how annoying it is to sit there and be playing a Makoa in an Onslaught game, or even a Siege game, and just the second you get in there, he's just like, bloop, and you're like, whoo-ching. Well, guess my chain doesn't matter. You just can't do anything. And as an Ashe, you just really can't do anything. And it sucks. It sucks really bad. But it doesn't for your team, because your team is getting healed for an extra like 1 to 2% health per second, along with however much this heals, which is really high still, which I think is like 270 something a second. Something like that. No, it's 420 health every second for 6 seconds. That's dumb. That's really strong. And you get an additional 1% health and CC immunity while in this motherfucking thing. It's nuts. It's really good. More people should try him. More people should get good with him. Yes, his thing sucks. Like, but look at that. Look at the damage. Like, you can do this just fine. Like, yeah, it's not that easy to point this thing all the time. Yes, you have to lead the right click. But you're not. Your focus isn't the damage. Yeah, he's annoying to kill. You know why? Because of Ghost Walk. He has Ghost Walk. You can reduce the cooldown of it. You have a legendary that says, hey, if you're gonna die, you Ghost Walk instead and go back to like 25% health. But you lose the CC immunity. So what you have is this dedicated healer and like anti-utility heal with the healing totem builds, or you have this very annoying, sorta tanky, really hard to kill motherfucker. That, like, okay, so instead you go Grok. You can go armor, you can go Wrath, and then Wraith, and then you go this. So now you have this Ghost Walk. You have 3,100 health. Your Ghost Walk lasts a little bit longer. Sure, you don't have CC immunity on this bad boy, but who the hell cares? You're hard as shit to kill. Oh man, I almost died. Well, guess I'm gonna Ghost Walk again. Oh, cool, I just came out of my Ghost Walk that lasted like 3 seconds. Alright, cool, I guess I'll Ghost Walk again. Cancel the Ghost Walk, drop my healing thing, hide behind a wall. Like, he's a very large pain to deal with. So honestly, you can almost run him as an off tank because he has a decent and good objective presence. He is not easy to take out on a point if your team is taking out the targets that they're supposed to take out. which brings me also to Grover, another very underrated healer. Now, I have had my fair share of bad games on Grover, but I've also had my fair share of good games. Games I mean by, like, doing over, like, 200,000 healing just by standing near people. Like, you just stand near people, and occasionally you're just like, bloop. Now, obviously, you want to run Chronos, because that heal cooldown is just abysmal. His healing cooldown does suck. I will admit. I will admit, and I will 100% and completely agree. But you can't just judge him as a character off of that. His healing is good. He passively heals. Like, you don't even have to do anything. You can just be like, I'm healing right now. I'm 100% healing people. But at the same time, I'm dropping damage that, depending on my range, could be freaking ridiculous. Look at this. The fuck? Okay, cool. Let's say I'm playing fucking Sniper Grover back here. I don't feel like having an objective presence, but my sniper's been getting dicked on by a freaking Tracer all game. Like, I don't even care if it's Tracer. But, like, no, he can't stop a Maeve. He can't stop an Androxys. But he can be this presence everywhere that he goes if you're hitting your slows, if you're getting your heals off, if you're making the spring come. If you're hitting them with the spring and you're just able to get in there, you're perfectly fine. If you're mobile enough with your freaking vine grip thing, which is actually really good, you can be great. Like, okay, let's say you have a Maeve jumping around. Alright, cool. Hook your own Maeve, and there you go. You're now over the freaking wall that he got over. Boom. You can hook your team. You can hook your team if you do not know that. This is all information that might be new to some people, and I'm glad to be able to give it to you. But on the back end of this this discussion, I know that I've been talking a lot. I know it might sound monotone, but I really want more people to try this kind of stuff, because the game is built to test you. The game is built to mess around. It's made to have fun while still being able to play competitively. I hate it when I go into a casual to try to just mess around with something, and because I do badly, this like one time, it's just like, oh my god, you're horrible, oh my god, you're awful. Don't do that. You don't have to be that way. It's a casual game. It's casual for that exact reason. Now, in competitive, I don't try new stuff that often, because I know that if we fail, I'm probably going to blame myself, and I don't want that kind of depression on my hands. I just don't. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. But I digress. Now, options that you support mains have out there. For Grok and Grove, my lovers of the underrated, you have the off-tank and objective presence of both of these characters, and they're annoying to deal with. Honestly, Grover, for whatever reason, feels absurdly tanky sometimes. And Grok, too. He's just annoying and hard to kill. For my Genos and Saris players, my Genos and Maldamba Saris players, my characters that are in, like, the mid-range kind of stuff, don't be afraid to do damage as Genos and just drop a heal on a guy every now and again. Don't be afraid to do that. If another person locks a healer and you want to try being a damage dealer, try being Genos. Like, Genos is great, and you can have a thing that makes your Astromark and you deal 15% more damage. So, like, he is very viable as that. My Maldamba players, don't be afraid to step out of your shell for a bit and run a freaking reload build. Like, start tossing snakes at people, gain some CC, smack the shit out of people. I don't give a dang, have fun. My Saris players, flank the dick out of people. You have a freaking stealth. You have a stealth and a Zarya ultimate that pulls people from like 2 miles away to allow you to beat the crap out of them. Play that shit. It's fun as shit in casuals to just mess around. And now my Ying and my Pip players, Pip is good. I promise. You might have to spend a little bit more time in the lab to get good with him, with his aiming, with his healing and stuff like that. But if you take your time, I'm sure you'll get it. Ying is another one. You just have to worry about your placement and remember where you placed your clones, because nothing's more embarrassing than cloning and trying to displacement twice and going right back to where you started. Or being even worse off and being in the enemy territory. It sucks. I've done it. I do it all the time. I play Ying a lot. She's actually my first rank 10 and the first one that I bought Obsidian stuff for because I absolutely love her. I have her legendary belly dance because it's amazing and she is my waifu. But, anyways guys, thank you all for watching. If you managed to make it this far, it really means a lot. The channel's in a bit of a weird spot right now, but we're trying to get through it. Don't forget to whip that like and sub button into shape for me, and if you want to get notifications of my new content, just hit the little bell. You guys, I'm sure, know where it is. But once again, and as always, guys, you stay tame. I'm going to attempt to do the same, and I will see you in the next one.